Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Aaron Toe. He is a 7-0 professional mixed martial arts fighter out of New Zealand. He trains out of City Kickboxing, of course, the world famous City Kickboxing, with multiple UFC fighters, and of course, home to Dan Hooker and Israel Adesanya, the former UFC middleweight champion. Dan Hooker, interestingly enough, very close friendship with Aaron Toe, as he essentially gave him a scholarship very early on and now trains with him. And you can tell that he can pick a winner because at 7-0, Aaron Toe is expected to do big things. He's very, very insightful. I've said before, like from the outside, you'd be quite intimidated by the man. He's got a nice tribal tattoo as well that pays homage to his heritage, which we go into a little bit about, and just the New Zealand government and the public's perspective on mixed martial arts. So it's not your average fighter chat, which is very, very interesting. So it's good to get inside of the mind of Aaron Toe. But he'll be competing against Shane Parker, as a former Commonwealth wrestling participant at XFC 71 at Mansfield Tavern. You can get your tickets from eventbrite.com.au or hit up XFC Australia on Instagram to find out more. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the man preparing for his February 24th fight, it's Aaron Toe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Aaron Toe.
Brother, what's happening? Hey, that was pretty good. I've fought in Australia for like 8 years and I never got one pronunciation right. I'd even speak to them before the show and be like, hey, this is how you say it. It's like the toe on your foot. That's the easiest way to like pronounce it correctly. But yeah. No one really catches that ball. I'm waiting for Bruce Buffer to get it right. So we'll thank you.
Well, the funny thing is too, is like, because I was a ring announcer as well for Eternal for a little bit, that like, if you say someone's name like that, unfortunately, that's just how everyone's going to say it for the rest of your career.
Straight up. Yeah, even like my fight name, people like mispronounced it because of how many commentators said it wrong. And yeah, it took me until last year. I had to start telling people like what it actually meant, and then they're like, oh, then why did they say it? It's like, oh, it just kind of stuck one day. Can't get rid of it, eh?
Well, it's funny because I've been singing your praises for a very long time, and I've been singing Aaron Tao's praises for a very long time. So that's why that's probably stuck. Because I feel, man, like you have been... Everyone knows your name, like especially in Australia, but we've never really gotten to see you get that opportunity to be the consensus number one in Australia and New Zealand. Do you feel like you're not getting sort of enough respect that you deserve in the Anzac community?
Oh, I think the real people know what's real, but I definitely think the majority of the people that they know what's going on don't have a great idea. But that's only because of the way that like I've stayed with XFC, because they've looked after me and they've put on good shows, and I can always trust them with pretty much everything. I have faith in them as a promotion. So yeah, and everyone crossing over to obviously X Eternal and doing all these different promotions, that some of them don't like crossing their fighters over, and then I kind of get stuck in these places where I only get the fights that don't get matched on other people's. And that's why I had a lot of people talk shit about me lately about my record and this and that, but I fought everyone that would sign the contract. So, especially with the times of COVID, like I made do with what I could do in New Zealand with my fights, and I fought the fights that I could actually get at all. Because at that point in time, we were doing fight camps like Dan Hooker's fight camp for Dustin Poirier. We were doing it like running from the police. So it was a really interesting time, bro. It's like we were running around away from the police just to exercise with each other because of this COVID bubble stuff, and they're trying to be upset about who I was fighting. I'm like, bro, hardly anyone fought in that period of time. I got fights. I made it happen. Like, what's there to say, really?
It's a fair point. And I mean, for people that aren't in New Zealand, I mean, we've got a lot of New Zealand listeners as well, but majority from Australia. Why does New Zealand hate MMA so much? Like, it feels like the government is really against you guys.
Oh, well, this could get me in trouble, but we'll give it a go. I just think this is just my personal opinion, and I just think it's because of Sporting New Zealand doesn't want to accept us as a sport, because we'd have to start getting funding, and based on viewership, we're the most viewed sport in the world currently, the fastest growing sport in the world currently, and it's going to take away from the rugby union, the rugby league, the netball, the cricket that we're world renowned for. If they start sponsoring, if they start admitting that we're an actual sport, they got to start giving us something, which is, I think, what they don't want. And that's why even the exemption stuff, like the hockey team went over, like before Dan's fight, when Israel was fighting in COVID, and they were getting exemptions just like that. Like they didn't have to worry about their visas. And the New Zealand government made it so difficult for them to do anything, which kind of made it look like they don't want us to be around. And then with the Halberg Awards, when Israel won the Halberg Awards, which is like New Zealand Sporting Awards, his speech about tall poppy syndrome, about how, if I win, we all win. Like I don't know why you hate us so much. We're like Eugene, Dan, like all the OGs, they did it from the ground up. Like they never got a cent off the government. They always paid their own way, and that's how they got this far. And, like, I think that's why they don't want to take the recognition as well. But to be honest, I have no idea. I'm just calling shots from the cheap seats.
Well, I mean, it was really weird because Dan Hooker basically went through like Guantanamo Bay to get back. Like, how many weeks did he end up doing of like isolation?
I like him and Eugene did a stupid amount of isolation hours, like stupid amount, for 2 week time, and they were flying in and out every couple of weeks. So it just accumulated really quick. But Dan ran, I think it was something stupid like 15 Ks in his apartment, his hotel room, which was like 10, well, not even that. It was 3.5 meters. He ran 15 Ks, just wall to wall, wall to wall, wall to wall. He was going that crazy. Like, those are the kind of humans you don't want to lock them in a room, bro, because you don't know what's going to happen when they get out,
Well, I mean, that's why mixed martial arts is so great, because it kind of keeps people from getting locked in a room, as in prison. Like, especially in New Zealand and of course Western Sydney and some of the parts of Australia as well, where if you don't have mixed martial arts, you do go down the wrong path. And I feel like the people that make the big decisions don't see that every day. They think like, oh, you can just choose not to be angry. Like, they don't see the areas where it's like, no, I have to punch something. I either do it this way or I do it kind of like the bad way. And it feels like New Zealand, there's just such a divide between the people that make the decisions and the guys doing it.
There's a big stigma, bro, because of the 90s or even the 80s, 70s, 80s, with domestic violence and just violence in general and violence on the streets in New Zealand. Like, New Zealand has a big street fight culture that was like brought up from the 80s and 90s. And when Mark Hunt got famous for having a street fight against 6 dudes, like, and that's just the place that we grew up in, and so they don't want to encourage violence. That's where I think their stigma comes from, is they don't understand what sex is. But obviously with the more education people that we are and how we carry ourselves, the culture has changed a lot. Even like in regards to sponsorship now, like it's a lot easier for me to get sponsors as opposed to it would have been for Dan and Israel when they first hit the scene, because no one wanted to touch your liability almost, and now we're actually seen as an asset.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've always thought that, like, aggression and the wanting to fight is like energy. You can't destroy it, you can only convert it. So you got to put it into something. And you guys have done an amazing job at building mixed martial arts in New Zealand. I mean, you speak about the stigma. I mean, you've got one on you right now, the traditional tattoo. Has that carried a stigma your whole life?
Yeah, well, see, this is another reason why we are who we are. Like, when I was growing up in my parents' generation, a bit like the Indigenous Australians, like their whole generation, they try to wipe out their culture, It was illegal for them to speak their own language. My father and my grandparents, and they pretty much beat you at school if you spoke Māori. They had actual, like, legislation against practicing anything culturally Māori. And that's why my dad doesn't speak any Māori. Like, he's really dark. He's like, grew up in the bush, has all the other knowledge of being Māori, but that was kind of kept away from him by his parents because they thought that it'd be a hindrance on his life. And then obviously our generation coming through now, we've been able to build it back up. And now, and that's another thing why I have this on my face, is we're trying to make being Māori cool again, trying to make it like a mainstream thing. Like, we don't need to be ashamed of who we are anymore. And I'm so proud of my culture. I will wear it on my face. You can't deny who I am. You can't deny where I'm from. Because if you try, hey, I'm right here.
I mean, you talk about culture and obviously upbringing and whatnot, but if you look around at CKB, I mean, is it wild to see the amount of races and upbringings and the fact that you guys have such a strong brotherhood and you've got Nigerians, you've got white guys, you've got Balkans, you've got what is it that makes you guys so special and brings you guys together?
It's the proudness of our own culture. That's what actually brings us together. We encourage each other to be who you are and where you're from and live through that energy. Like the Balkan Bear, like we encourage him and Andre to be from that part of the world. We encourage Israel to be where he's from. We even encourage like the settlers that lived here. Like all of that part is influenced in a great way, and also in a very comedic way through Eugene and Doug. You know, they like to take the piss out of us, and it helps us care about that. You consider like someone that you should take, you know, information from, but when they're stabbing at you like the way that they do, it makes you stand your ground. And we got the Frenchie, like we give him so much shit because I tell him that he needs subtitles, bro. I'm like, I can't understand a word you say, you know. And like we mock the heck out of him being from France and all this kind of, like, honestly, just take the mickey out of each other. Australians, all the Australians in our gym get torn apart, you know, but they give it back, and that's how we are proud of our, like, show that we're proud of our country and our ground, even against the people that we like respect.
Yeah, and of course, the Frenchie Kevin Doucet, who is probably the most intimidating Frenchman I've ever taught. I've done interviews with him, man, and I'm like shit scared. I feel like I'm gonna weigh in, stare down.
He's a funny guy, man, because he's like the Terminator, like the way his energy is. Yeah, so he was like we'll be like training and stuff, and you bump into him, and you just turn around, look at you, and you go, "Hey, man, what's your space? What's your space, man?" You're like, does he want to fight me? I was like, what the fuck? What's going on? And then he just carries on out of the day. And then he like, hey mate, could you just like, you know, watch where you're going? But yeah, the way that's received, I'm like, shit, man.
Oh,
like,
right.
Like all of them are like great guys.
Yeah, he really is. I remember once, I think I ring announced him, it's like years ago in like Adelaide. And I was just sitting around in a group talking, and I don't think he knew if I was there or cared, but he was like to Simon Carson, who was the head coach of Absolute MMA at the time. And he was like, oh yeah, that ring announcer. He's like, I don't like him. I don't like his voice. And Simon's like, he's right there. And Kevin's like, like it's just in there. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, my bad. I'll change my voice, Kevin. I
was like, sorry, bro. Sorry, bro. Oh, no, but... And there's also when he became double champ at Hex, right? And he goes like, "Oh, I'm gonna be in the UFC next." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So what if you don't get the call, right? Like, who's next? Like, who's next? And he was like, "No, brother, I'll be in the UFC." And like, he was right.
Oh, but that's how strong we are with our perspective and why we stand our ground and stuff, because. You have Eugene telling you, like, you'll never get there. Like, you're fucking hopeless. You're horrible. just give up. Like, you know, so you've told yourself this so many times in your head, like, I'm going to the UFC. And so when someone like that, you know, on a stage says it to you, you're so convinced in your head that you, like, look them in the eyes and you're like, no, I am going to the UFC. And it's not up for debate, because I've had this argument so many times. That's crack up.
Well, I mean, is that obviously the same with you? I mean, you're around so many guys that are either in the UFC or everyone is unanimous in thinking they're going to be next in line. Do you just believe it to your core that you're going to get to that next level?
Well, I've believed it since the day I started this. I used to tell people on the piss, which is the funniest thing. Now you'll be off your face, drinking beers and going, I'm going to be in the UFC, and then just look at you and laugh, you know? And so, yeah, I've always been convinced that this is going to happen, and I've just hacked away at it piece by piece, and I'm lucky enough that I've got a scholarship with Dan, been with him for 5 years, and now I'm at City Kickboxing with the rest of the team. I just kind of made it come true along the way, and yeah, now it's becoming more of a goal than a dream, so it's interesting times.
I mean, you mentioned Dan Hooker, who was essentially your coach, has now turned into a really, really close friend and training partner. What's it been like? Because you guys have a sort of deeper bond than some of the others, but you and Dan Hooker are really connected.
So, yeah, he just took me over the first day that I trained with him just to beat me up in front of everyone. So, it's a fond memory I have, you know. He just took me over there, like, I just come straight off the amateur title, beat Ben Emerson, and then come over here. Like, I didn't know him from a bar of soap, and he was like, first day up, like, yeah, hey, look, we're not training at combat today. We're going to go to City Kickboxing. I was like, sweet as, what I need. He's like, I'll bring your sparring gear. So I was like, sweet as. And yeah, went there, got the piss beaten out of me from pretty much everybody. And then he took the last round, and I'm unfit, gassed out, lands a few big shots, takes my back, and then like back mounts me and then just splattens me out, just throwing hooks to my temple. Boom, boom, boom. And he just reckons, how you like that? How you like that? Just whispering in my ear. Yeah, you can just give up, just go home. And I think the thing that, like, because he stopped afterwards, which is why I think we like get along so well. I just like looked back at him. I was like, look, man, I was like, fucking kill me first, bro. And then he just cracked up and just pushed me away. He goes, yeah, you're done. See you later. And that was my first interaction with the dude. So other than the scholarship trial, so yeah.
Jeez. I mean, like, because you always, great guy. You always see like him and Israel going at it, and it's like, it's always like Dan's putting like in this like loving, playful way, he will beat you to your death.
Like that's kind of like his coaching style, as he knows that if you can survive him, like he'll be okay out in the real world. So you know that's like a tough love kind of scenario. He just makes sure that your life's a living hell for the entirety of your fight camp, and then at the end of it, he's just like, oh yeah, you'll be fine.
You might not have known him back this far, but are the stories of him like doing like underground street fights with like bikies for money, is that all real?
That one I know they're talking about. That was actually a Christmas party. So that was their gym Christmas party, bro. So they got their gym Christmas party, right? And like for their Christmas party, the boys just get on the beers, then chuck some gloves on and throw down. And they had like just a group circle, and it was him and Ants dancing, and yeah. So they like, you watch the thing, they absolutely beat the crap out of each other. And then obviously Dan just at that point Dan wasn't drinking, so Dan just went in for the Christmas party, make it a good time for the boys. And then he was going to work as a bouncer, and he was leaving, and one of the boys was like, bro, like, you can't go to work. And he's like, why not? And he had a big ass hematoma on his head for one of Ant's punches, like landing flush on his noggin. So he went to work with like a big ass mountain. That's just the kind of person he is, bro. Anyone that has met him and trained with him knows, like, he's really about it. That man's a fighter's fight,
Well, in saying that, I mean, before we get on to your fight, as much as I've enjoyed just me and you recounting Dan Hooker stories, how much do you think Dan has like left in him, man? He's had wars, and he's got obviously a young family now, and he's getting a little bit older. Like, what's sort of the future hold for Dan Hooker?
Oh, brother, he's only just hit the start of his stride, I reckon. Like, yeah, he definitely has more in the tank than he did like a year ago or so. I genuinely believe that. And even like through the wars and stuff and what's happened and broken his arm, and like the Dan Hooker of old is back, I feel like, and he has the skill to really do some damage in the lightweight division. And I reckon he's going for a run for the title, man. That's my genuine belief. I feel like this next few years, even in a year, he could get a title shot. One great show up for that guy, and he puts all the butts and maybes behind him and gets that shot. So yeah, that's what I believe, bro. That guy will. I think he'll outlast me.
Speaking of like you and your career, I mean, do you have any idea of how far away like you are? Do you know if it's one or two fights and then you could be next, or are you really just one fight at a time guy?
Oh, there's been heaps of chat. Like, I don't take anything seriously unless it's got written in writing. Unless they have a contract there for me, I'm not going to say this or that. But yeah, I'm what I'm trying to do is make a statement. That's why I'm trying to get the hardest fights, and Shane just happens to be the only one that wanted to sign the dotted line that has the credentials. Even though despite his record, what it may look like that guy's not an easy fight. He just fought Logan, who fought me, right? And now Logan's fighting for the Hicks title. Like, you can't say he's not an easy fight. Like, put some respect on the guy's name. He's a Commonwealth wrestler. He put away my training partner, Nick King, who's a 3-time King in the Ring champion. Like, a guy that's kickboxed the head of anyone that in arm's reach of New Zealand, Australasia, and like Southeast Asia. He's like 50 pro fights in Muay Thai and kickboxing. And, Shane put him away in the first round, which just blew my mind. That's why we're taking this fight as well, because he is a worthy adversary and he has the credentials to put me ahead of the game. And really, like, who else is there?
Yeah, I mean, I do find it weird that people can critique this fight at all because at the end of the day, you're 7-0 and you're going up against a guy that's 5-5 and you win. He's like, it's like, oh, you beat a guy that's 500. Like, it's almost like lose to you in the sense of a casual viewer. But like you said, he's got the skills to tell you out as well. So it's like, I do like it, but we do need that Cody Haddon fight, that Colby Thickness fight. We do like that where you knock off the hype guy. And I feel like if you get through Shane, I feel like that fight is there for you.
Yeah, well, I've been offered the fight, and then I got no return on it. Like, I got offered the full pot fight, and it didn't sign the contract. Those fights were always there, and now I was like trying to get them, but just didn't come to fruition. So, yeah, but like this is the thing why I'm trying to be loyal to XFC is if they want to fight me, like come fight me for my title. Don't offer me to go over to Eternal or go over to Hex and fight on these other cards. Like I am the best in Australasia, and if you don't think I am, come and take my title over to another organization. But like none of them have tried to do that. So
can I ask you this question then? Have you been offered fights on other promotions that you've turned down?
Personally, myself, my coaches and managers haven't given me anything that like that. No, I won't turn down a fight, and they know that. That's probably because I'm just stupid. But you know, this was my point of view and what I said to Daniel DeWalt. Like, you haven't had someone that's gone straight from XFC to the big show. They've used these other platforms to jump on top of these fucking Fight Pass gold trains and, you know, Hexes, this and that. Like, I want to be the first one that went from fighting a man Spinal Tavern to fighting in Las Vegas. Like, you can't write a better story than that. I come straight from South Brisbane straight to Las Vegas, and like, I'm still the money fight. I'm still got making the most waves. If they want to come and take my title, come and take my title. And then you can say, oh, the Hex guy is the best. Oh, the Eternal guy is the best. But if you don't want to, if you're not willing to come over to fight me for the best of the best, then shut your mouth, in my opinion.
It's fair. And speaking of your opponent, Shane Parker, because we do have this fight Feb 24th for the professional bantamweight title. Is there anything about Shane's game that concerns you at all going in?
Man, he's quick. He's coming up from flyweight, so he's going to have, like, you know, a little bit of a speed edge. The guy likes to just throw bombs, and he loves to, like, snatch up the legs. So the guy's like an all-rounder. You can't really be comfortable anywhere. So, yeah, he's got me on my toes. This is the fittest, strongest, most athletic. This is the best version of me that has ever been, ever. And, like, because he beat Nikola, like, he put me on edge, because I train with Nikola every day. Like, Nikola isn't a slouch. Like, he made a mistake and got caught, but, like, still... That's a possibility that, you know, Shane could put me away as well. So, yeah, I'm just keen to show that I am the best in Australasia, and if they want to come and prove me wrong, after I, like, you know, show everyone that I can compete with a Commonwealth wrestler and someone that has fought the likes of Paul Loga and Shannon Ross and all those kind of people, like, yeah, why wouldn't I do it? He wanted to sign the contract. Why wouldn't I do it? It's great. It's great for both of us. If he beats me, he can still, you know, like, he could steal that, snatch that, go 6-5, and then fight for a title and somewhere else, and like that's a mate. I'm risking the biscuit and getting fuck all return. So logically, I should be fighting Cody Haddon, or like, but I've already fought Loga. I should be fighting full Paulo Costa. But like, come and get it, boys. I don't chase you around. You chase me. This is how it works.
I love that. I could just envision. It's funny. Any interview I ever do, I'm like, "That's the clip." I'm like, That's that's going out. That's the clip. Do we have a maybe not a prediction if it's not, you know, win, loss, whatever, or armbar or knockout? But what can we expect Feb 24th against Shane Parker?
That's Saturday, Mansfield 7. I'm gonna just absolutely dominate in the stand up and show that I can hang with the best wrestler in the bantamweight division. It's a poke you, Rod Costa, because you can't wrestle. And then I'm going to, you know, jump the next hurdle, throw something else at me. I'm fighting 4 weeks later in Auckland on Arsenal X, which is a cross promotion. 1 round Muay Thai, 1 round MMA, 1 round kickboxing. I did that just before. It doesn't go on my record, but I'm just doing it to get fights because all these guys keep talking smack and they don't turn up to the show. So I had 5 pullouts last time. You know, like, I made weight, 5 pullouts. I got pulled out on the day, and then I said to Dan, I was a Mansfield Tavern calling my mate Solomon, and I said to Dan, I was going to get on the beers, bro, and just run my mouth on the mic. At least then someone will want to fight me, you know? Is that what I got to do? Is that what I got to do, boys, to get you off the couch and signing a contract? Because, hey, you could walk past me down the street and I'll fight you. That's just who I am.
Mate, before I let you go, after it's all said and done, how does Aaron Toe want to be remembered in mixed martial arts?
As a man that represented his people with pride and an absolute lunatic. I've ticked one box, eh? We're gonna go moving. Let's get that pride sorted, eh?
Mate, you are an absolute star. I can't believe we haven't had a chat before. February 24th, key tickets from Eventbrite. February 24th, key tickets from Eventbrite.com.au. Hit up XFC Australia. See Aaron Toe versus Shane Parker for the XFC bantamweight title. Thank you so much, mate, for your time and best of luck.
Cheers, brother. Appreciate the love.